Welcome to the Close the Chapter podcast. I am Kristen Boyce, a licensed marriage and family therapist with a private practice, Pathways to Healing Counseling. Through conversations, education, strategies, and shared stories, we will be closing the chapter on all the thoughts, feelings, people, and circumstances that don't serve you anymore and open the door to possibilities and the real you. You won't want to miss an episode, so be sure to subscribe. Welcome to this week's Close the Chapter podcast. Welcome. I am so grateful you are here. And I'm going to start this episode off by telling you something that I want you to start telling yourself. Because if we don't start taking care of ourselves, we're going to be dependent on other people to make us feel worthy and lovable and enough and secure. It's not going to come from outside of you. It's going to come from within you. So I want to tell you, you matter, you're lovable, you're worthy, and you're enough. And that is the foundation for what we're going to be talking about today, which are doing emotional check-ins. I work with almost every single client on doing emotional check-ins. And that means pausing, taking a breath, slowing down, put down our phones, turn off the TV, try to center ourselves and connect with what am I feeling? And as you know, I'm a licensed marriage family therapist. So I work with couples and families on how to do that, not only with yourself, but with each other. What I'm finding now is we are the most distracted culture that we have ever been. And people are spending up to 7 hours a day on average on their phones or on technology. 7 hours. That is unbelievable. That's almost 50 hours a week. And I want to disrupt that pattern so much so that I encourage everybody to be doing emotional check-ins at least daily with yourself and with the family at least 2 to 3 times a week. We didn't grow up like this. Our families weren't saying, "How are you feeling? Tell me more about that." And connecting on an emotional level. How was your day? That's a nice question. It's still staying a little bit on the surface, and we want to get below that. So today I'm going to be talking about how to do emotional check-ins. What are some questions to ask? I get this asked so many times. Well, I don't know what to ask. Well, I'm afraid they're not going to answer. If they don't answer, that's okay. You don't have to get an answer. It's to create an opportunity to hold space and connect with each other and with yourself. So what I recommend first is you start this practice with yourself. So you're going to get out pen and paper. I really encourage this because when you take time to write it out and get it out, your body doesn't have to hold it and then create tension and stress inside your body. So what we want to do is we want to really strengthen how we feel about ourselves. We want to get more clarity. We want to feel more centered, less stuck, and more emotionally available and connected to others. So we know through the neuroscience connection of why this matters is naming emotions reduces the amygdala activity and helps restore calm. So you're getting out of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which is our people-pleasing response. And we shift from reactivity to reflection. And we're processing. We're moving things up and out of the body. You know I'm so passionate about this. So here's kind of what we want to do. We want to create these check-ins, and I recommend doing it once a day with yourself. So you can do it in the morning. I like to personally do it in the morning. I do it throughout the day as well. But in the morning, I really want to center myself. I take my pen and my paper and I will write what worries me. I will write out maybe some prayers. You could do what works for you. Don't be constrained by this process. I write, what God do you want me to know today? I also will dump anything I'm worried about, stressed over, looping on out on the page. And then I'll say, what am I feeling? So I'm feeling afraid. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling worried. I'm feeling sad, angry, whatever the feelings are, put them down on the page. You could do this through some breathing techniques. Go for a walk in the morning. You could ride your bike, listen to music. I really, really encourage you to do the reflection of what you're feeling so you can create a dynamic within yourself that it flows through you. And you can create this for your family system or in your relationship that you're in. Please Let's start having deeper conversations within our relationships. It is so important, but you're not going to feel comfortable with this if you're not doing it with yourself. So you could do check-ins with your family or your partner at dinner. I think that's the optimal time. Now, I realize everyone's busy with activities and sports and things after work. And it's the time where I recommend everybody put their phones away. So, no phones at the dinner table. Or if you're out to eat, please put our phones away. And this includes us, like as adults. If you're a parent or you're in a partnership, you have to walk the walk. So, I have to do my own work to put my own phone away because it's so addictive. Again, 7 hours a day people are spending on their devices. That's how addictive this is. So I have to work at putting my phone away. That's the first thing I recommend. Put your phones away. Turn off the TV. Please, please do not watch TV while you're eating with your family. We're the most distracted we've ever been. TV doesn't help because guess what? My brain goes towards the TV. My eyes go to the TV. So when I am at a place where there's lots of TVs on, you're going to see people looking at the TV, of course, because that's what draws your eye. So turn the TV off, turn your phones off, put them away. Like don't even have them at the table. So in our family, I was like, no phones at the table. And it's not to punish anybody, it's to create deeper connection within our family. So I highly recommend if you're going to a restaurant, no phones. If you're at home at the table, the dinner table, the place where you eat, no phones. So now let's set up what we want as the energy we're bringing to these conversations. So if you're bringing a reactive energy, no one's going to want to open up. So if you are feeling heightened and angry and dysregulated, probably not the best time to do emotional check-ins. First of all, come regulated. What does that mean? Take some deep breaths. Feel your feet on the floor. Slow things down. Put your phone away. Be fully present. Open up your body language. So if you're got your arms folded in front of you, chances are you're not coming with an open energy. Check your energy. As Jill Bolte Taylor said in My Stroke of Insight, before you come into a room, check your energy. You're responsible for your own energy. And with an emotional check-in, you need to be regulated and centered. Don't be coming in going, well, you do this and you do that. That is not an emotional check-in. You're just dysregulated. There's no connection that's going to happen when you're dysregulated and you're out of what we call our window of tolerance. That you're not centered enough to tolerate a conversation, a hard conversation. Check on if you're willing to be vulnerable. Are you willing to be vulnerable and share with an I feel statement? I feel sad. I feel scared. Not I feel like you. So don't use the word you. I feel like you, that's a judgment. That had nothing to do with a feeling. Stay away from always and never. So if you've listened to this podcast, you know I'm not a fan of always and never. I love an and a both. I can have my feelings and so can you. It's no threat to me. Stay in your window of tolerance. So if you start saying always and never and you and using absolutes, you're not on the right path to having an emotionally available check-in. So you want to make sure that your tone of voice. So if your tone of voice is accusatory or you always, do you see how my tone of voice changed? My facial expressions need to be softened. That's where the breath is really going to help you kind of regulate through having these conversations. So at any point, you need to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Please do so. You want to stay in your center and stay open to other people's feelings. If you're not in a space where you're going to be able to stay open to how other people feel without getting defensive, probably not a good time to do an emotional check-in. Here's a couple of things I want to say. When I work with couples that have gone through any losses, grief, if they've lost a child or children, they've lost a partner or a parent or someone they care deeply about, emotional check-ins are necessary. They're essential, especially with couples. If they've gone through any kind of losses, we really want to hold space for the tenderness of grief. There's no timeline. If you're going through a transition, I recommend emotional check-ins for all couples. I wish we could start this in dating where we could be more vulnerable and ask more vulnerable questions that I'm going to kind of walk you through instead of staying on the surface. Because if you can't do emotional check-ins when you're dating with someone, it's time to move on. I just want you to know how critical it is to be able to have a willingness to grow and evolve. And if someone has that and a willingness to talk about deeper emotions, that's going to be a healthier person for you. So, with emotional check ins, it's important that you're looking within, you're taking radical ownership of your own energy, your own emotions, and you're available to hold space for someone else. If you're doing this with someone else, right now we're talking about doing this with a partner, as a family. And people are like, okay, how do I begin this? We're going to just do check ins. We're going to say, how are you feeling today? That's how I want you to start a check in. This is just some questions to get you thinking. So if you need to grab a pen and paper, do that. You're going to start off with, how are you feeling today? Okay. If they say, fine, just say, no, really, I really want to know how you're feeling. I noticed you seemed a little sad, and I'm wondering if that's true or you're feeling other feelings. I really want to hear how you feel. Again, watch your defenses. Don't take things personally. If they're saying you, they might not be in a space to continue an emotional check in either. I forgot one step. You want to say, is this a good time? If you want to do an emotional check, is this a good time to connect? I like saying that. This is a good time to connect. Not, is this a good time to talk? Please do not say that. I tell couples, like, that is your moment where you're going to start armoring up and getting defensive because you're like, here we go. They're going to want to have a conversation. Don't say, is this a good time to talk? Is this a good time to connect? Feel the difference. You may not feel it so much, but it is. When you say, can we talk? People are like, uh-oh, what are they going to lay down on me? Immediately, you're starting to feel like I've got to come with my arguments. I've got to defend why I said or did a certain thing. So really come regulated and don't say, can we talk? And eventually, I just want this to be organic. Like, you're not even going to say, let's do an emotional check in. You're just going to be at the dinner table chatting. You're going to be at the dinner table opening your heart up, really being curious. We want a curiosity inside of us about how you're feeling and how the other person's feeling. Okay, I love this question because I think it's so powerful. And I really want you to sit with this question. What is taking up the most headspace for you right now? Oh my gosh, I could write a book on that. So, what is taking up the most headspace for you right now? Or if you're talking maybe to a teen, one of your teenagers, you could say something like, what is stressing you out the most right now? What are you worried about? What's keeping you up at night? I'm giving you questions. So, write these down. What's keeping you up at night? When was the last time you felt truly seen and heard? When was the last time you felt truly seen and heard? So you want to know, like, oh, tell me more about that. These are your prompts. Tell me more about it. That means I'm holding space. Now I'm going to offer empathy. So I'm going to say, oh, I bet that felt so good when Johnny was able to just listen and acknowledge how you are feeling. And you felt so safe with that person. You felt like they got you, they understood you, they heard you. And they're going to be like, yeah, it felt so good. Maybe they're going to say, you never do that. Let's say they say something like that in rebuttal. You're going to say, well, tell me more about me not doing it. I'm going to mirror back what they said and really stay regulated with my feet on the floor, taking my deep breaths. The purpose of an emotional check in is to get to what's underneath all the stuff they're saying, to the emotions. So if they say, I'm really stressed out, tell me more about that. Well, I feel like I'm idiot. Okay, now I know we're dealing with shame. So we're trying to get underneath to what are they feeling? Less about the content, more into the feelings, because the feelings live in the body, which leads me to a question that people will think, why is she asking me this? What is your body telling you? And they'll go, what do you mean? Like, do you have any aches or pains or places that you feel sore in your body? And what do you think it's telling you? Like, is it giving you information? These are random questions that people would never expect you to ask, but I want you to be asking them even at a young age. If you have children, even at a young age, please ask curiosity-based questions, not an interrogation. So you might ask like, oh, what information is your body giving you? What is your body trying to tell you? Like, oh, I have a headache. Okay, maybe I need to go to rest. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe I'm not processing everything that's in my head and it's just swimming in there. So the body is always giving us information. And what a curiosity question for an emotional check-in. If your body is giving you information, and let's get curious about that. Stay curious in these emotional check-ins. What is draining your energy lately? Don't you love that question? I love that question. What is draining your energy lately? And that could be, you could ask kids this: what's draining you? What's upsetting you? And so this invites us, and these are questions for you to ask yourself. And then you're going to feel more equipped and free to ask other people these questions. So when I see family systems, most of us didn't grow up asking these types of questions. They were very surface based questions. And this is a way to transform your family system and your relationships, your romantic relationships, so they're deeper. Do it from the beginning. If you're already in a 40-plus year marriage, it's never too late. Start getting curious about yourself first. If you're not curious about yourself and what you feel, you're going to have a really hard time doing this with anyone else, including your partner, your kids, your friends. It's going to be harder because you're not curious within yourself. It starts with you first. That's why I want you in a journal practice. That's why I want you get exploring body sensations and what that's telling you and the wealth of wisdom that's within you. This is key to emotional check-ins. Another question is, what is something that brings you peace and joy? What is something that brings you peace and joy? What brings you, is another question. Now, this one's really deep and some people aren't going to feel safe enough to share because it's vulnerable. What brings you the most shame? Meaning, what do you not feel good enough in? Oh my gosh. So many of us don't feel good about so much of ourselves. And why can't we talk about it? Because we feel scared of rejection, judgment, and criticism. And shame loves to live in the dark because then it's all in our heads swimming around how terrible we are, or we shouldn't feel this way, or other people don't feel this way. It is imperative we are talking about what we feel with the people we love, especially our partners. And we hold space for our children, whether they're adults or kids and grandchildren, to tell us how they really feel. What a gift. Then they feel seen and heard. This is what everybody wants. And I'm trying to teach people the formula, and it really isn't hard. I promise you, we overcomplicate things. I'm giving you kind of a cheat sheet of here's some questions to ask. And then I want you to write down what you're curious about emotionally for other people. We are so self-focused, meaning we're so worried about what other people think of us. We are so worried about what other people think of us that they're worried about themselves. They're not even thinking of us a lot of the time. But what I want to create is an expansion of yourself where you're doing your emotional check-ins. You're able to give yourself that. Then you're able to give it out because you've given yourself the space of checking in emotionally, processing what you feel, noticing it in your body. You're able to freely, regularly, on the daily, give it to other people because you've already filled your cup up. Emotional check-ins change relationships. They change relationships. If two people can do it, that's great. But I'm more concerned of you doing it for yourself first, bar none. Like, that's all you get from today. You're not going to change anybody else. This is what you're going to bring to the table. But you got to fill your cup up or you're going to resent other people because you'll be like, well, they're not doing it back to me. If I can get a couple to listen to this podcast and they both agree to do this with each other, yay, that's icing on the cake. And I love that in therapy when they're both willing to do these emotional check-ins. I have couples that I've worked with for a long time that do the emotional check-ins. They say, how are you feeling today? Tell me more about that. What's been the hardest part of your day emotionally? What is really looping in your mind? What's taking up your headspace today? And then they can ask, what do you need from me? That would be a follow-up question for your kids or your partner. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to fill the hole in their soul. It just means you're being curious about. A lot of people don't even know what they need. Most of the time, people will go, I don't know. And that's why you going, what do I need? That's a question that you will write in your journal. What do I need today? Sometimes you might need to take a walk. You might need some time to yourself to listen to your podcast or read your book, play with your pets. For me, recently, movement has been critical for me because I sit in my job as a therapist a lot. And I realize through this journey of life that movement gives me life. It really gives me life. And so I've made it an intention to do movement every day. Am I great at it all the time? No. And it impacts my mood, my stress level, my window of tolerance. So Pilates is my outlet of choice that I enjoy. We'll walk the dogs as well. And I notice the before and after, before I go and after I go, and the difference that I feel and the capacity I have for emotional check ins is even greater. So we have to look at capacity. The capacity for ourselves comes first. You cannot give from an empty cup. You cannot give from an empty cup because if you're empty, you don't have it to offer. You're not going to have emotional check in availability. You're not going to have the capacity. So we have to look at what do I need to be giving myself in order to have capacity to be able to do these emotional check ins. And you can't get it from somebody else. It's got to come from within. And maybe your relationship with God, or however you refer to that. It's essential for me. A prayer practice is essential for me because I'm not alone. And if it's not for you, that's okay too. You've got to figure out what that is for you. So I know that's an essential practice for me to kind of journal a prayer, to be journaling, to be moving, to be breathing, to feel my feet on the floor, to be in my body. These are essential to kind of be in the moment, to take in nature and breathe that in. What gives you life? What sucks your energy dry? These are things you're going to have to take radical ownership for, or you're not going to be able to do these emotional check-ins in the centered way that I'm inviting you into. So if you're going to change something in your life, this is it. Checking in emotionally with yourself and then doing these emotional check-ins with your family. So I will assign people in therapy. I don't like assign, but encourage them with, that's a better way to put it, is I will say, let's start with weekly family check-ins. And then I have them write some questions out that I'll give them. And I gave you a list today. You can Google family emotional check-in questions, give you or chat GPT it. They will give you questions. I would love it if you can come up with your own curious questions from the heart and then hold space, listen. Don't be distracted. Be fully present and attuned to the person in front of you. I would love for families to do this once a week. Now, if you're not together, you could do this via text. How you feeling? That's okay too. Ideally, it'd be great when you do see the family system that you can do these. As you know, I've shared on this podcast, who I am on the podcast is the same person you'll see on the street as the same person I am as a therapist. I, at family gatherings, will be like, how are you feeling? What is your word for 2025? Meaning, like, what is your 2026 for next year? The word that's going to guide you. And they're all like, oh, here Kristen goes. Because life is short. We only have so much time on this planet. Have meaning and purpose and emotional check ins. I promise you, will give you more meaning and purpose because you're connected to yourself and you're connected to being present for other people that you love and you care about. It's the greatest gift. I just can't emphasize this enough. So if you go, okay, now what's the structure, Kristen? What do I do? First of all, do your emotional check-ins yourself. Take your deep breaths, stay regulated, put all distractions aside, all of them. No phone. You're going to ask and attune with curiosity. How are you feeling today? That's the first question. If they say, I don't know, no, say, really, I do want to know. Truly, come with an open heart. Watch your defenses. Let the children speak. Let them speak. Let them share. And the more you try to fix it, the less someone's going to open up. Period. Period. So if you're trying to give them solutions and you're trying to fix it and you're trying to get them to see the light or make them feel better by saying, well, you are so great at this, and you're negating the whole purpose of an emotional check-in. The purpose of an emotional check-in is for people to check in with themselves emotionally, to check in with themselves. We are so checked out. We are so checked out right now on our phones, by TV, by so many things, by addictions, drinking and substances, and the list goes on. That shopping. I mean, we all have a checkout mechanism. And I want people to check back in with themselves and each other. Let's do check-ins instead of being checked out. We're checked out a lot. Let's just do some check-in, maybe 5-10 minutes, and then we can be done. And I encourage you to make prioritizing checking in rather than checking out so it changes your life. Do a no phone zone for yourself where you're not going to have your phone. You're not going to be on social media, and do it for your family. So if it's at the dinner table, if it's in the car, wherever that is, let's do that so we can be less distracted and more connected. We're not connectable when you're checking out. You're not connectable when you're on your phone. You're just not. We're connectable when we're checking in and we have space and we're slowing down. And once we do that and we do how are you feeling, we begin this check-in process. We begin to reconnect. And to me, my heart necklace, I'm wearing a heart necklace. You can't see me. And I'm putting my hand over my heart because I have seen this change people's lives. Being intentional about checking in with what's on the inside rather than what's on the outside. Social media focuses so much on the outside. I want to focus on the inside. Who are you? What is happening in your life and emotionally and in your body? Let's make space and time for that. Let's start changing where we spend our time. And I promise you, you will feel more fulfilled, more meaning because you're tending to yourself and therefore you're available for connection with others. I am just grateful you're here. If you want the journal that can help you in this process, it's free. It's at Kristen, Kristen, Boyce.com/free resources. Also get on the newsletter. Share this with someone you care about that you want to do a check-in with, not check out, and really hear about what's going on the inside. Don't we want people to care about us? Care about yourself first, then you can care about really checking in on someone else. Let's check in on each other more. Let's change the narrative that we have going on right now, that social media is the way we check out. And instead of doing that, let's check in with each other. Open your heart, your mind, and your soul and your spirit, and it will impact the way you feel about yourself and each other. Thanks for being here. And you matter and you're important and you're loved. I'm saying it multiple times so that truth can sink in. Thank you so much for listening to the Close the Chapter podcast. My hope is that you took home some actionable steps along with motivation, inspiration, and hope for making sustainable change in your life. If you enjoyed this episode, click the subscribe button to be sure to get the updated episodes every week and share with a friend or a family member. For more information about how to get connected, visit Kristen, Kristen, Boyce, Boice.com. Thanks and have a great day.